Let's get started where I got started. I was teaching elementary school art at Laughlin Design Center in East Nashville. My children were also my students at the school. I was also creating watercolor invitations that were sold in stores throughout the U.S. I would start with a watercolor painting and then I would scan the painting and use Photoshop, which is a computer software tool, to incorporate photographs of the people that I was creating invitations for. One day at school, I decided to show a Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood episode where he met the artist Red Grooms, which gave me an idea for a new series. Let's watch a clip of that.
Surprise for you.
Look at that.
I did the neighborhood trolley, and I put in some of my characters, my taxi and my bus.
That's wonderful.
And then I thought, well, I'm going to make you the driver, but you've got to have some of your characters as passengers.
Well,
so that's
sure.
what I've done.
And you put in Daniel Tiger.
Yeah.
And Henrietta Pussycat. And King Friday the 13th. And Queen Sarah. And X the Owl.
Right.
Who's that hanging on?
That's Mr. McFeely. He's just barely catching the trolley, and I'm going to have to add color and, complete him. I'm thinking now, I'm seeing this great green sweater you're wearing. I'd like to kind of test the color out and see if it works. Do you mind if I
Not
try
at
a
all.
little color here?
I'd be glad to.
See if this works.
Have a sweater pose.
Great. I think that green is going to work out real nice. It's a kind of special green. Let's see. No, it's not so bad. We'll keep working on it here. Now, Fred, I hate to tell you, but this is going to take a few hours.
Well, I suppose I better get back to my place. I'd rather stay and watch you all day with your kind of work.
Well, it's been nice having you here. I'm going to finish this up and send it to you.
Thank you very much. And thanks for all the good work you do, Red.
It's been fun having you. See you now, Fred.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I was so inspired by Mr. Rogers' visit to Red Groom's studio. I loved Red Groom's watercolors and have been doing watercolors. I loved his drawing of Mr. Rogers' neighborhood and decided to start drawing people in my neighborhood and make a coloring book called Miss Camilla's Neighborhood. One of my friends and fellow art teachers, Cassie Stephens, came out and made a video. I would like to show you parts of that video to show you the process. Thank you so much to Cassie for making this video, and I hope you enjoy what you're about to see.
Boys and girls, today we're going on a field trip. A field trip to visit an art teacher and an artist whose name is Camilla Spadafino. Camilla is a painter. She creates amazing portraits of people in her neighborhood and pets, which she titles Miss Camilla's Neighborhood. We're going to learn all about her process of creating these realistic and very symbolic portraits of friends in her neighborhood. So let's go on a field trip, guys.
Hello, I am Camilla Spadafino. I want to welcome you to my art studio. Today I'm going to be talking to you about my neighborhood portrait series, Miss Camilla's Neighborhood. I'm going to show you how to create a portrait. This is an example of a dog portrait that I did that tells the dog's story and his dream for his future. I will be walking you through the steps of drawing and painting and planning out your project. I'm going to show you what we're making. It starts with this. This is the end when it's all produced in a coloring book. So here are some of the pages in the coloring book. And I'm going to show you how to make them. And then you can make your own coloring books if you want to.
Awesome.
And your own coloring pages.
Yay!
So, each of them starts as an acrylic painting on a canvas, just like this. And this tells the story of this dog.
Look at the drawings in the background behind the dog. This dog likes peanut butter, walks, bones, chasing balls, being in nature. His dream for his future is to be free of his leash, outdoors, running free in the sunshine.
So the way that you make this is I use transfer paper, which is graphite paper, and it's really important to get graphite paper because some transfer paper doesn't erase, and you want to be able to erase these lines. So it's like a graphite pencil. You can also make your own transfer paper by taking an image like this, or a photograph, any kind of image that you want, and just with your regular pencil, I show my students how to do this on their own. You color the back of it really dark and heavy, and use cross hatching so that you get it really dark and heavy.
That means she's got some lines going up and down vertically and then some lines going horizontally.
Yeah, so back and forth like this. But you want it to be really dark like this because that's how the transfer paper is really. And then you lay your artwork down and you take a ballpoint pen, which I have one in there somewhere, and then you go over your lines like this. That's how you make the transfer paper. And that's the first step in the process, and so I have one set up for you right now to show you how I do that. It's important when you tape this down to think about how you can check it as you go. So you have like a little escape hatch here is what I think of it is, so that I can look back into the drawing and see how it's going. Let's peek in there and see. That's the basics, and there's some things on here that I will need to fix. So for now, I'm going to show you how I create the background. I think of the background as wallpaper strips. Again, these are wallpaper strips is what I call them, where I have the symbols in them and the dream for the person or the animal's future. And I have to plan that out a little bit. I don't want to have any straight lines here. I like the background to be more organic and expressive. So I do this by hand without pencil drawing underneath. I go straight in with my Sharpie marker. I try to tell about 4 or 5 things about each person and then their dream for the future. So I like to have between 4 and 6 wallpaper strips in the background, and I think about I kind of draw it with my finger first and think that looks about right, and then I just jump into it and I really don't worry about it being completely straight. Then I think about, would this look better to have a thin line here, or do I want some overlap? And overlapping shapes is important. So I don't want to cut something off right beside his face like that, because I wouldn't be able to get little symbols in next to it. So I think this looks pretty good right here. It takes a lot of time. It takes me 8 to 10 hours to create one 8x10 painting because of that, the building the layers of paint and the high level of detail, because you can see how tiny some of those spaces are, and getting in and painting that detail and making it all look really clean, because craftsmanship is, for me, a really important part of this work. I like it to look really crisp, like a coloring page looks really crisp, and so I like the paintings when they're finished to also have that high level of detail and craftsmanship. Once I have paint on my paintbrush, I try to find a way to use it somewhere else in the painting so that I can serve my paint and take really good care of my materials that way. So that I'm just going to go into her while I have paint on there. I don't want to waste it.
Once Miss Camilla is finished painting the portrait, she begins to painstakingly paint the background. Look how small all of those beautiful detailed lines and images are. It takes her a long time to paint those details, but she does them well and with good craftsmanship.
It takes Cassie a long time to make her videos. She has a YouTube channel called Cassie Stephens, where you can see visits into other art studios, meet other artists, see Cassie teach, and learn more about her. Next, I want to learn more about you and your school. Miss Sturgill has given me the list of symbols for your school the ideas that you came up with in art class. And she has told me about your school's dream for the future. I cannot wait to reveal all of these things when I start drawing and working on your background. Right now, I'm finishing up the first step of the process, which is to draw the architecture of your school and the people that are on the outside of the building. I had a lot of fun working on your drawing, and you can see my progress right here in my little time-lapse videos that I made for you. The next step for me is to go in and draw the wallpaper strips, fill those in with the symbols that tell the story and the dream for your school's future, and then send the big, huge canvas back with Miss Sturgill so that some of you can start helping her to paint. And that's going to take you quite a long time. I'm excited and I can't wait to see what you do to finish out this drawing with painting. I would love to come back when it's all done and see what you think. Next, I want to show you the things I have been working on lately. These are paint by number kits, and I want to encourage you to take this idea that I have for naming colors to tell the story of people and places, and for you to think about the color names that you would like to have for your painting of your school. You're about to see one more video that's going to show you what I'm doing these days. I went from making coloring book pages to making paint by number kits, and of course I had to make one of Mr. Rogers. But I've also made paint by number kits of places like Franklin and Nashville and other people like Andy Warhol and the artist Frida. One of my favorites is the volcano paint by number kit that has color names that teach you more about volcanoes. Here's the last video. I hope you enjoy.
Just because you are all grown up doesn't mean you're too old to play.
Check this out. Remember these paint by numbers like this? It's pretty cool, huh? Well, News Channel 5's Kristen Scovera introduces us to a local artist, you can tell by the picture, who is painting the town.
Sitting in her home studio.
You've got everything you need right here. A fun design, colors that tell more of the story.
Camilla Spadafino combines colors and numbers
Dive their paintbrush into that delicious acrylic paint.
for an activity some of us haven't tried since childhood.
In fact, it's relieving of stress to do that.
She calls her kits Paint the Town by Numbers.
They're not designed on a computer. They're designed right here by me with my hand and this paintbrush. Whatever paintbrush comes in the kit, that's what I'm making the kit with.
An art teacher by day, she's lived in Nashville since the 1980s.
Ride my bike back on West End. You could never do that now.
She started with faces, then moved onto places.
With Nashville, and I have these vintage paint by numbers downstairs, and I think that they were in the back of my mind, and I just started sketching from some photos I had taken of downtown.
She uses those vintage prints as inspiration,
This one is called Cumberland River, number 5.
choosing colors as an ode to the past while introducing new shades for a new generation.
It's not a problem if you make a mistake, then you just paint right back over it, and then you just fill in with these are just short dashed lines.
And while the lines are there as a guide, she says staying inside them is just a suggestion.
Every single one of us, it is innate. It is our birthright as a human being to be creative.
In Nashville, Kristen Scovera, News Channel 5.
Thank you so much for having me come out to your fabulous school today, for letting me help make a work of art that's going to tell the story of your school and the dream for your school community. It's been really fun, and I can't wait to see how the final painting is going to turn out, and I hope to see you all again very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.